It's 95 degrees in Saigon. The humidity is so thick, you can practically feel it sticking to your lungs. The asphalt is radiating heat like a literal oven. You're sweating just by standing still. And yet, if you look at the plastic tables lining the street, you see the same thing everywhere: steam. Millions of people are sitting on the sidewalk, hunched over bowls of boiling hot pho, or bun bo hue. To a visitor, this looks like a nightmare. Why would you put hot liquid into your body when the world is already on fire? Common sense says you want a salad, an ice cream, anything cold. But in Vietnam, they do the exact opposite. And it turns out, the science says they're right, and we're wrong. I'm John, a Vietnamese American living here full-time. And when I first moved back, I honestly thought everyone had just lost their minds. In America, we have a very simple logic. If you're hot, you drink something cold. We want ice. We want refrigerated water. We want that instant chill hitting our throats. But watch what happens when you drink a giant glass of ice water in 95-degree heat. Your internal temperature drops for a second, sure, but your body reacts to that shock by thinking it's suddenly in a cold environment. It constricts your blood vessels to keep your core warm. It actually stops the cooling process. Essentially, your body starts working harder to warm you back up. Now, look at the bowl of soup. When you eat hot broth, it triggers something called gustatory sweating. The heat sensors in your mouth and throat send an emergency signal to your brain. It tells your body, it's too hot in here. Your brain flips the switch on your sweat glands. You start to sweat, not just because of the sun, but because of the soup. And here's the key. As that sweat evaporates off your skin, it carries away a massive amount of body heat. It's an evaporative cooling system. By adding heat to your system, you're triggering the body's most efficient way to get rid of it. The Vietnamese aren't eating soup despite the heat. They're eating it to fight the heat. But thermodynamics is only half the story. There's a social and economic layer to this that most people miss. In the West, we manage heat by retreating. We go inside. We turn on the AC. We close the door. We create an artificial environment. In Vietnam, life happens on the sidewalk. And if you're a street vendor or a laborer, you can't retreat from the 95-degree sun. You have to live in it. If you drink ice water all day while working in the sun, you're creating a massive temperature differential between your insides and your outsides. That constant shock is exhausting for the body. It leads to what locals call heat fatigue. By eating hot soup, you are essentially performing a thermal sink. You are raising your internal temperature to match the environment. When your body is at 100 degrees Fahrenheit because of the broth, and the air outside is 95 degrees, the breeze actually feels cool. You've changed the math of how your skin perceives the air. This is human air conditioning. It's a way to remain functional and comfortable in an environment that would otherwise be unbearable. It's not about changing the weather. It's about changing yourself to fit the weather. Now, you might be thinking, okay, John, but I see people drinking cold things on the street all the time. And you're right. Every soup stall has a pitcher of tra da, iced jasmine tea. But look closely at how it's served. In a Western restaurant, a cold drink is often the star, a 20-ounce soda designed to be the main source of hydration. In Vietnam, tra da is often just a supporting character. It's a light, watered-down jasmine tea packed with so much ice that it stays freezing cold but isn't meant to be chugged for flavor. It's a palate cleanser. You take small, frequent sips to keep your mouth moist and reset your taste buds between spoonfuls of that rich, savory broth. One is your engine cooling, the other is just a rinse. It's a two-step hydration strategy that keeps you from feeling bloated while the soup does the heavy lifting for your internal temperature. The Vietnamese have mastered this kind of micro-optimization, balancing biology and environment to find the most efficient way to live. If you appreciate this kind of data-driven logic, you'd probably like how I approach the markets. Optimization is what allowed me to move back and live here in Vietnam full-time. And I do it using Seeking Alpha. It gives me the same level of deep dive analysis on my investments that we just did on this soup. If you want that same edge, there's an exclusive discount for them in the description below. There's also a deeper, traditional reason for this: the balance. In Vietnamese culture, there's a concept of hot and cold, known as and Yang. You probably know this better by its Chinese name, Yin and Yang. But in Vietnam, this isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a medical one. The belief is that everything you put in your body has a thermal property that has nothing to do with the actual temperature. For example, ginger is hot, cucumber is cold. If you put too much physical cold, like ice water, into a body that's already struggling with external heat, you create an internal war. You've disrupted the yin and yang of your system. Locals believe that drinking ice-cold water while you're overheated causes shocks to your internal organs, specifically the lungs and the stomach. You've probably heard a Vietnamese mom tell you not to drink ice water when you have a sore throat for the exact same reason. To them, your internal temperature should stay stable and balanced. By eating hot soup, you're bringing your internal temperature closer to the outside temperature. When the gap between your body and the air is smaller, the heat actually feels less intense. You aren't fighting the environment anymore. You're matching it. We also need to look at what is in the soup, because it's not just hot water. Vietnamese breakfast soups like pho or bún ba are high-sodium, nutrient-dense bone broths. When you spend all day in 90% humidity, you aren't just losing water, you are losing salt. You are losing electrolytes. If you only drink plain water, you risk hyponatremia, essentially diluting your body's salt levels until you feel dizzy and weak. The soup is a medical intervention. It's a massive dose of salts and minerals that stay in your system longer than water does. And then there are the herbs. Cilantro and Thai basil are known in traditional medicine to help with digestion and cooling. Lime juice provides the vitamin C needed to keep your immune system up in the tropical humidity. Chili, which many people add, contains capsaicin. Capsaicin further triggers the sweating response, doubling down on that evaporative cooling. Every garnish on that table isn't just for flavor. It's a chemical component of a cooling strategy. Finally, we have to look at the reality of the street. Think back to the street food logic we talked about in the first video. In a climate where bacteria thrives in the heat, a boiling pot of broth is the safest thing you can consume. Most foodborne illnesses in the tropics come from cold chain failures, meat that wasn't kept cold enough, or vegetables washed in contaminated water. But a soup cauldron that has been simmering at 100 degrees for 12 hours? That is a sterile environment. It's the ultimate safety-first meal. Eating a cold salad on a 95-degree sidewalk is a gamble. Eating a boiling soup is a guarantee. So, the next time you see someone in Hanoi or Saigon sitting in the sun, slurping a bowl of broth that is literally steaming, don't feel sorry for them. They aren't suffering. They're using a 1,000-year-old biological hack to stay cooler than you are in your air-conditioned hotel room. They've triggered the sweat. They've balanced their yang. They've replenished their salts. And they've turned a simple meal into a survival strategy. It's not chaos. It's thermodynamics. But as soon as the meal is over, the logic changes. The hot soup vanishes, the plastic stools shift, and suddenly, everyone is holding a glass filled with ice. Which brings up a new question. If hot liquid is the secret to staying cool, why is Vietnamese coffee always iced? If you want to understand the science behind Vietnam's caffeine obsession, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's our next deep dive. And you won't want to miss why the most popular drink in the country breaks all the rules we just talked about. See you in the next one.